So there is one question which I often get from people who want to start their own pig farm, and that is, how can I be able to hire the best staff for my farm? So there are basically different ways you can hire the best staff for a farm, because at the end of the day, the kind of staff you have in your farm will determine the kind of results you get from your farm. This is a fact. The kind of staff you have will determine the level of output your farm will be having, because the wrong staff can make mistakes which will affect your farm, and before you know it, you start having problems in your farm. But hiring the right staff is one of the best things that could ever happen to you as a pig farm owner, because don't forget, these are livestock animals. These are livestock. They breathe, they need to eat, they need to be medicated. So everything has to be done carefully and in order. Now, how can you be able to hire the right staff for your farm? The first step you must take is you must know what you need. Now, if you own a farm, there are certain things that you need. For example, what role do you need the staff to play in your farm? How many staff do you need? So these are things you must put in consideration before you begin to hire your staff. The number of staff you want, the kind of job they'll be doing in your farm. Because, for example, you can hire a staff and that staff job is to be a gate man in your farm. You can hire a staff and that staff job is to be a security in your farm. You can hire a staff and that staff job is to be sweeping or washing the pens. You can hire a staff and that staff job is to be managing the workers. You can hire a staff and that staff job is to be in charge of the medication. So you must know the roles you want to make this staff to occupy. But for me, the best approach to this is when you hire staff, let them be able to do all these things: medication, washing of pens, and living in your farm. Of course, by living in your farm, they will act as security. So you hire one staff, like you hire staff that will occupy all these roles together. So it's not a matter of hiring this one for to act as your medical chief of the farm, or you hire this one as security. Just hire staff and train them to do all these things, and they'll comfortably do all these things. Now the next thing is, during the interview, you must prioritize character over skill. For me, character is the number one when it comes to hiring staff. No matter how experienced you are, if you don't have character, there is no way you are going to work for me or with me. It's not possible. So if you're hiring your staff, no matter how experienced the person is, during that process of interview, if you discover that this person is not really straightforward, that is a red flag. At this point, you should know that this is not the kind of person you should have in your farm. This is not the kind of staff you need in your farm. Because a dishonest staff will cause you a whole lot of problems. So it's just better you hire someone who doesn't have the skill, but who is teachable, who has the passion to learn and train that person. This is why our farm is here. If you have staff that you want to train, we can come to your farm and train your staff, or they can come to our own farm and we offer them training here on the farm, on site. So this is why you must prioritize character above skill. Above skill. You can easily train someone who doesn't have a skill, and that person will have a skill. But someone who doesn't have character, someone who doesn't have integrity, someone who doesn't have honesty in him, a thief, a skilled thief is worse than an inexperienced staff who is not a thief. So no matter how experienced that person is, if that person is a thief, it's a problem. So you need to avoid those people. The next one is, do a trial period. When you hire your staff, do a trial period. Here on the farm, anytime we bring in new staff, we basically, after we tell them, oh, this is what you're meant to do, this is what you'll be doing on the farm, we give them 1 month period where they will just be on the farm. They, they will be doing their normal work, but that period will be like a trial period. We'll just be looking at them, observing them, because someone can, you can employ someone. After a while, you now discover that this person, this job, you don't want him to be working for you or with you. So that 1 month is like a trial period where we observe them, see how punctual they are, see how reliable they are, see how their own temperament is also. Because when you have people working on that, you also have to gauge their temperament and know if that's the kind of person who has the temperament to work under someone. So these are things you must check. And then, of course, if that person, passes through that trial period, and then you now tell them like, okay, you're now a full staff, then you now, of course, you have to pay them well. You have to pay your staff well because a well-paid staff is a staff who will have interest, who will be dedicated, and who will be, happy working for you. And when a staff is dedicated, committed, and happy working for you, they will contribute a whole lot to your farm. And of course, you also have to make them feel that they are part of the farm. How can you make them feel they're part of the farm? By asking them for their suggestion. Sometimes it's not even my ideas I used to do certain things on the farm. Is the ideas from my staff. Because by using their own ideas, by listening to their suggestion, and by using some of their ideas and suggestions, sometimes you make them feel important. And that is how you get them to, feel more dedicated, feel more like part of the farm, because they'll be like, okay, my opinion matters. So that's basically how you hire the best staff and keep them motivated. So that's basically that.